Guys, when it comes to travel, there are a lot of different security issues that you just want to consider. And guys, whether you're going to a city that's just a couple of hours away, whether you're going on vacation, or you're going to a completely different country, there are some things that will just make your life a little easier and it'll get you home. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that are important. Now, most of these would relate to domestic travel, not necessarily international, but they will apply to international as well, which there's a whole set of things you need to consider when you're traveling internationally that we're not going to address. And so one of the big things is just having common sense. I mean, think about things before you do them. It's real easy, especially if you're on vacation, just to kind of impromptu do things. And so just have some sense about what you're doing. Could this be a possible issue? One thing that we did a few years ago, we were on an island down in the Caribbean. We were on a cruise ship and there were certain things laid out that we could do, and we just decided to walk around on the island, and we got this guy that was on the side of the road and he took us all over the island. I mean, it was great. We had a great time. We didn't know who this guy was and we didn't care. We just went. And that's where having a little common sense would have been smart, because that could have turned into a bad situation. And so again, just having some common sense. Another thing is don't necessarily act like a tourist. Don't act like you don't know what you're doing, and don't make a big announcement about it. Try to blend in with everyone else. That way you're not standing out. A lot of times when people are tourists and they're in an area, they're carrying a lot of cash, they're carrying valuables. One of the things definitely is just to walk with purpose and kind of have a plan to know what you're going to do. Also, staying out of dim areas, staying out of alleyways and places, maybe taking a shortcut. Take the standard ways that everyone else is going. It's just smart to do, whether you're traveling or you're just around town. Now, when planning out your trip, go ahead and do some research. Make sure that the area that you're staying in is a good area. A place where, there's not a lot of crime, there's not a lot of low-income areas around you. Last year I took a trip down to Atlanta, and that was one of the things I was very careful of, is I wanted to go down and do a planning week. So I went down, but before I did, I had all the information of that area where I had the hotel to make sure that it was a good area to be in. And so sometimes you can have hotels that are on the edge of some really rough areas. And so you can do a little bit of research and find out a lot of information. One time we were going to a wedding in Louisiana, and about halfway we stopped in Alabama, and we stayed on the wrong side of town. We just stopped and decided to stay, and we realized once we got there that it was not a good area. And so just making sure that you have your information right, what's going on around you in that area. I mean, crime can happen anywhere, but it's more prone to happen in certain parts of town. Now, if you're taking a cab, there are three things to consider. Number one, go ahead and take a quick snapshot of the number, the cab number, and the company. Then once you're in the car, don't announce that you're a tourist. Sometimes that can cause you a lot of delayed time and going the long way, or even worse. And then last, once you get to your destination and you have luggage, make sure you let the driver go ahead and get out, take the luggage out of the trunk and set it down before you exit the cab. What happens a lot of times is, they haven't gotten all your luggage out and they just drive off. Or they just forget and you get out and the cab drives off. And so then there you are without your luggage and without your valuables. Now, if you have important documents, especially your driver's license, even a passport if you're going somewhere, or whatever you have on you, make sure that you scan those documents and that you have copies of them. And you can email them to yourself, that way you can access them. So all those documents, are really important, because, you can get robbed, your room can get robbed. Also, if you are out, make sure that you have a dummy wallet. Have just a wallet, maybe have a couple of dollars in it, just a few things in there, but keep your cash and your goods and your ID in a separate place, because getting robbed while you're out can really cause a very bad vacation. One thing that I do is I have a leather belt, and there's a zipper compartment inside. I can keep different things in there, and so I can keep those stored away. But there's a lot of different ideas you can use, and I highly suggest you use some way to keep that cash out of your billfold. When you're staying in a hotel room, make sure that you don't stay on the first floor, but also make sure you don't stay on the upper floors, just in case there's some kind of emergency, a fire or something that happens. Really, the second, third, and at the most the fourth floor are the best for security, but also easier to get out. If you need to jump on the steps, you can get down pretty quickly. If you're on the first floor, you're really vulnerable to people that are breaking in right off the street. Also, when you're checking in, just make sure you have your address, the tag number of your vehicle, those kind of things. Just have it written down. That way you can just hand it over to the clerk and they can process it right to the form. Or if you're filling out the form, that's fine too. But you just don't want to sit there and say out loud where you live, your tag number, your phone number, and give out important information, especially your credit card number. Also, if you're using public internet, don't put sensitive passwords through your internet. And a lot of times they'll tell you, be careful, this is an unsecured internet service. And so you don't want to use those passwords that someone can actually track. If you're using your phone and you have secured internet on it, use that for those kind of things, and use the hotel internet just for perusing around and doing things that really don't require any kind of password. Also, your peephole. You can look through a peephole from the outside door and kind of see if there's any activity going on. Best thing to do is take and just cover it. If you have a little piece of tape or something, cover it up, they can't see it. And also maybe turn on a little bit of music when you're not in the room, maybe your TV, just turn it on low volume, and then put a do not disturb sign on the outside of the door. Especially once maid services come and gone, it's just good to have it right there, or just tell them, say, look, check my room, I've got a do not disturb, but just check it. Now, one of the things about hotel service, a lot of times there's a lot of theft that goes on. And so using the hotel safe that's in your room typically is not the best plan. A lot of times they can break into those pretty easily. And also make sure that not only is your deadbolt locked and that your little cover that blocks the door is put into place, but also you would be great to have some kind of alarm system, a door alarm, one of those that when you push it, it goes off, even a glass on the handle in case someone starts to open the door, it's going to fall and break in the middle of the night, and then at least alert you, because sometimes even hotel employees can be troublesome, and so you want to make sure that you keep yourself secure. Now, one tool that I think is very critical for traveling is some sort of flashlight. One thing that I really like are headband flashlights. I mean, I can put them around my head, I can go hands-free, it makes it really easy, and yet if I want to, I can pull it off and use it as a designated flashlight. But when it comes to standard security, it's good to have a light that's a little bit longer with a crenulated bezel. You can actually use that as a self-defense option. Light is your #1 security tool, and it definitely applies when you're traveling. And so having a good light, having some extra batteries, that's really important to include in your travel kit setup, because a lot of times we can't have knives, we can't even have tactical pens, or definitely not concealed carry. If you can have those, obviously, if you're just going to the town next to you and the laws are allowable, then you should definitely have those things on you. But even then, making sure that you kind of follow these security rules can really save you a lot of trouble, and again, can save your life and keep you out of a situation where you have to use some kind of self-defense measure. The last thing I want to address, though, is something that's very specific for this time when I'm making this video. And in 2020, we've had a lot of unrest that's gone on in most of the major cities. And so as you're traveling, you want to find out what's going on in those areas. If they're having a lot of protests, where they're having them, because usually it's at a certain place. And make sure that you avoid those areas. If you do have to go anywhere near those areas, make sure that you have a plan just to get out, because a lot of times you can get caught up in a riot, in problems, you can be pulled from your car. I mean, it can be really dangerous. So make sure that you kind of stay out of those areas. One great thing is whatever hotel you're in, make sure you talk to them about it and ask them where unrest is happening. And hopefully, by the time this video comes out, those things will have stopped, but I kind of doubt it. But again, these things can happen at any time, so it's just best to be prepared. So guys, again, just make sure that you have a plan and it's laid out. A lot of times when we were young, we just go and run by the seat of our pants. But in the world we live in today, it's really important to have things planned out. With the internet, there's a lot of information that you can find out about the area. It's going to make your trip just a lot better. And the #1 thing, though, is situational awareness. Always being aware of what's around you. If things are starting to kind of give you that funny feeling, you need to pay heed to it. And always be in yellow condition, and that way if you need to ramp it up, you can. Because a lot of times when we're traveling, we're not able maybe to carry a concealed carry. Maybe we're just out there on our own. And so we need to take advantage of all the other security measures that we can take. So guys, as you're traveling, as you're getting out there, just make sure you stay safe, keep your family safe, get you back home. And guys, if you've had your own experiences, or if there's some other ideas that you have that I've missed, make sure you put them down in the comments below. It's a great place to be able to have a good dialogue, and people can see and learn, and we can work off each other's experiences. So guys, if you're really serious about prepping and survival, check out Survival Dispatch Insider. It is the best resource on the web for survival and prepping. They use the top names in the world that are contributors there. We upload one video that's exclusive there every week. I'll have a link down below in the description. It's well worth checking out. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.